this sound from Don't Forget My Podcast. This is from Hoop Genius, and this is BJ Armstrong. This is a nice 2-minute clip as he kind of breaks down how he feels about the state of the Sacramento Kings. Here it is.
But what direction should the Kings go in here?
They're kind of in a tough situation right now, and here's why. They've made these trades. They picked up DeRozan in a free agency. Then they make the trade for Zach LaVine. Then they move off of De'Aaron Fox. Malik Monk gets hurt, right? He gets hurt, correct? So they're kind of in this odd scenario where 2 or 3 out of their top 4 players. I don't know what happened to Keegan Murray. Like, he's just kind of, I don't know what happened. He had a terrific rookie season, and then all of a sudden they get rid of Harrison Barnes. And then suddenly they fire their coach, and now they're in this, I don't know where they're at. It's kind of like they have a combination of players, but they don't seem to fit, right? Sabonis was hurt. Then he comes back. De'Aaron Fox is out.
They trade for Valanciunas as well.
Trade for Valanciunas. So they have this mixture of players, but it doesn't look like a team. It just looked like a collection of like really talented players.
They've got great assets. That's the word that people use now. But like Keegan Murray, he shot 41% as a rookie from 3. This season, he's shooting 34%. He's trending downwards.
Yeah,
I feel like the offense with a De'Aaron Fox is easier for a player like Keegan Murray to fit into compared to when the offense is a guy like DeRozan or LaVine.
Yeah, it's again. And then I don't know. I'm just looking at their collection of players. What's their identity, or what's the identity of this team? Are they a defensive team? Are they a fast break or 5-out team? Are they big? Are they small? I don't know. So we'll see. I guess we'll find out something after the after the season's over with, and then
in 8 minutes time.
Yeah, we'll begin to see what's going on here, because it doesn't feel right to me. Their season doesn't. I mean, their team doesn't feel right.
That was BJ Armstrong, and that was about a month ago. Okay, that was about a month ago.
I think that was the day of the play-in.
Yes, and I think the play-in might have been going on because they said we'll find out about 8 minutes or so. So it sounded like the game might have actually been going on, but that was the Hoop Genius podcast about a month ago. And, one of the things that I really like the fact that for the layman's terms out there, just discussing just quickly that little clip he had where he said, what are you supposed to be? Are you a 5-out team? Are you a defensive team? So it's interesting looking at the teams that are in the playoffs right now, what molds they all fit in. I would say that even though the Pacers do have Miles Turner, they're kind of a 5-out team because they want to get out, they want to run. So you start thinking, okay, that's interesting. I would even call the Knicks that in a way too, because Karl-Anthony Towns isn't a traditional center, but they're also a defensive team. So a lot of people are not upset, but thinking, man, we brought in, you had Scott Perry talking about Zach LaVine and how he got paid too much money, which, by the way, obviously Zach LaVine wouldn't admit this, but a lot of people feel like that, not just Scott Perry, right? That doesn't mean that he doesn't think that he can win with Zach LaVine. That's why they basically had to give a pick away if they wanted to move Zach LaVine prior to this season where Zach LaVine balled out, because he wasn't even playing. So I don't know that that's as controversial as people tried to make it. Now you have BJ Armstrong saying a lot of things that, again, we'd all agree with. We don't know. This team didn't really make sense. He's not bagging on the team. But now with a job within the organization, they know, okay, we need to figure out what path we want this team to go in. When you look at the whole 5-and-out situation or defensive situation, you have Domantas Sabonis, who doesn't really fit 5-and-out per se. They definitely don't fit defensive team right now. So their job is to look at these pieces, see what works, like Tetris. see what works, or when you're putting your groceries in your car, see what works, see what doesn't work. I pretend like it's Tetris. Kyle gave me a look. When I'm putting the groceries in the car, I pretend like it's Tetris to try to figure it out. See what works, see what doesn't work, see who wants to be here, see who doesn't necessarily want to be here, because we want volunteers, not hostages, and kind of rock and roll from there. This did not make me feel upset or think he's talking trash about the Kings, because it's everything that we've all said.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the sentiment most people have had. It's like, oh, this sounds like any of us talking about the Kings, although it doesn't make you feel better when that person is now in the position of power, only because...
But why?
Only because we don't know what direction it's going to go. And if you're a fan who wants a certain direction or believes in a certain direction and thinks, I would say, me personally, I would say their best path forward is to play it out next season and make tinkers around the edges. And then once you get to the trade deadline, if you're in 13th place, maybe we can reconsider. But if you're someone who is advocating for tear it down or advocating for run it back or advocating for trade X, Y, or Z player, it doesn't feel great to have the people in charge be like, I don't really know how to fix this thing, because it makes you feel like everything is on the table and that.
But that's the pod. He's podding. He's just podding. He's podding.
I love how you're saying that like you're from Boston.
He's podding.
Podding at the Garden.
Yeah, he's just podding, man.
Well, podding about the Kings. It's one of those things where it just creates anxiety, I think, because lack of information leads to anything kind of seeping in, right? You're saying, if he doesn't know what direction it's going to go, it could go in any direction.
Sure. But I don't look at it like that. I look at it as, hey, let's work together to find a direction. That's how I look at it. Yeah.
It's just where, if you're someone who really wants to go in one direction, you were maybe hoping that he would be like, I think this team's got to just make a big swing and they got to go all in on X, Y, or Z because they have to maximize the window of Sabonis and Levine. Like, if he had said that, I think some people would have been like, yes, excellent. Other people would have been like, no, we're going down the same path as before.
Our trade target